¿Cómo se llamaba el de del hombre que escuchaba en las calles con mi abuela? El carro.
El sol. Ah, el jinete sin cabeza.
No, el otro, el que quería que quería sus animales y que llevaba el que lo empujaban los carros. Ulanga.
Ese nomás tenía la fama de que era uno que traía la volanda.
Volanda, ok.
Volanda.
Que viene siendo el carrito como los que hacía tu papi.
Volanda.
Volanda, sí.
Como una bola que anda. Ok, ma, ahí le hablo al rato, gracias.
Nomás peso me quería.
Sí. Para saludarla también. Dale, ma, bye. Bye.
Welcome to another episode of the Papiverse. That was Omar's mom.
Yes.
Explaining her, what was she explaining to you?
Yeah, she was telling me the story about we'll go into it, but I just couldn't remember the name of the object. It was before cars, but it wasn't like a carriage. It was animals pulling.
You're not going to put on your costume?
Oh, yes. That's right. Hold on.
So for the people who are not watching that, the ones that are just listening, you need to explain to them what you're wearing. I'm just wearing devil horns and some red shirts and a red jacket. And I just threw some shit on because I didn't have time to look for a costume. So this is all y'all get. Oh, and I got a little sombrerito.
Yeah, it fell.
What happened to it?
Oh, there it is.
Oh,
you got it?
I'll get it.
There you go.
So
now
I'm the Mexican devil.
El
Soy el diablo.
El chamuco. El cucuy.
¿Y tú?
Soy la muñeca María, the Maria doll. So it's used in I can't remember. I think it's Mazda. I don't know what the proper term is, but so this indigenous group, they use it to show the little girls how to braid hair.
Yeah, it's a muñequita. You know y'all know that little doll with the braids? And then she has little ribbons in the braids. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cute, right?
You're feeling that hair,
yeah,
bitch.
You know what?
I never over here
I never played with wigs,
wow.
But all of a sudden I was like, I kind of want to do the Beyonce thing where she just does this, but just I'm afraid.
Did you celebrated Day of the Dead in Mexico, right?
In Mexico, yes, which was it's very different from here because it's really a production.
Because you grew up with all the Day of the Dead stuff porque viviste ahí casi toda tu vida, right?
Yes, and unlike Oaxaca, we didn't go. I mean, we did go clean the tombs, but we didn't spend the night and take
People spend the night. I didn't know that.
It's more like in Oaxaca. There's some places where they go and clean the bones, but
I know that.
Yeah, but
I read about
I think in Oaxaca they stay the whole night. You cannot leave the tomb. But where I'm from, we'll go have coffee, clean the tomb, and have food and
Dang, people be sleeping in that shit.
Some people stay the whole night. Yeah.
No.
So
no.
It's
no.
But yeah, it was fun because we used to get one of the smallest cousin in a casket, and we just walked around town knocking on doors, and then it was like Christmas caroling, but in Spanish, but for dead people. So we would go El muertito se murió en enero, quiere que le den dinero. We'd have to rhyme stuff, and we'd have to say what the dead person wanted.
What would they would give you whatever the dead person asked for in the rhyme?
No, this is the Halloween influence in Mexico that the new custom was they give you candy, but back in the when my first memories of it, they used to give you peanuts, oranges. Some
para
people
las
even gave you tamales,
stuff like that.
Yeah. So some of them would do it for the ofrendas, and some of them would it's whatever they had, they would give you.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so you'd have to go and
Yeah, no, porque when we went, we would go in summer, right?
Yeah.
Or for Christmas.
So it was no.
But we never got to be there for and then my mom was really Christian, so she wouldn't have had it. She would have been no, you're staying home.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't even allowed to dress up for Halloween. My mom was no. Yeah. I think I only did it one time, and I was a tiger and a lion, and I was a little kid, and I stepped on the tail and it ripped off.
Oh.
That was my only Halloween memory. Isn't that terrible?
It's especially
it's so sad.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to that costume.
Do you think she has it stored in the basement, just
no? She probably lit it on fire. She was really Christian. Yeah, she would throw away all my scary books and stuff, and my dad would be like, "You need to leave him alone."
So yeah, and then we, like I said, we'd get the smallest cousin, and then we'd carry them in a casket, they were actually dead. So then they give us the stuff, and then at the end,
he would be in the casket.
Yeah, it's like a box,
like that,
like a wooden box, or yeah.
Like,
and they'd have to play
like that?
dead. Yeah.
That's cute.
It was fun, and it was a workout, but it was nice. Just seeing everybody's costumes, and
That's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Y'all would actually carry it though?
Yeah.
Not like on a wagon or anything?
Sometimes we would,
physically-
depending, because the older they
sounds
got, then,
hard.
the smallest one the youngest one was actually like getting bigger, or like, so it was, I don't think
So
I
it
ever
had
did
to
it.
be the youngest one?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
So
'cause
what if
we
the
didn't-
youngest one was like
Big,
bulky?
yeah. Well, then if there was somebody slimmer, then. Well, I mean, we had to do we wanted to get a lot of candy.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I don't know if they do it all over Mexico, but that's how we did it where I'm from.
That's cute.
We have weird traditions. Oh.
Okay. Cool.
How was your Halloween here?
I don't know.
Aside
Like
from
my mom, like I said, my mom was like, she had a stick up her butt my whole child. Well, she still does, but it's not as big as it used to be.
Yeah.
And so, like, we never got to celebrate. We never got to celebrate it. Like, my dad would be cool. My dad kind of like, had our back so we could watch scary movies and
Yeah.
shit. Or he would buy me a horror book, a scary like story book or whatever. But when it came down to Halloween, it was like my mom was like, "No,
El diablo.
ese es el diablo.
What? Okay, this is
Te vas a endemoniar."
this is something I'm curious now that we're talking about this. Like, there was a lot of things that my mom, my grandmother, even like the nuns in school would say, like, that's of the devil. Like, do you remember like the Zodiac Knights, Caballeros del Zodiaco? It used to be like this cartoon. The guys had like these crazy armors and crazy hair. It was like before Goku and Dragon Ball Z.
No, but they said that about a lot of. They said
Yeah,
that about
everything was the devil.
Pokemon.
Yeah, they say that
Everything
about
was-
Miley
yes,
Cyrus.
Everything. You remember that? Asereje.
Yeah, I was like,
That was supposed to be like
They're like,
they were like chanting to the
if you
devil
play
or
it
something.
backwards, it's like
the devil. Yeah.
And you know what's? I just
Britney
found out.
Spears
Yeah.
was the devil too. Britney
Yes,
Spears,
but-
which I half-heartedly agree with that still. But like, it was funny.
I don't know. She's dancing with knives now. That's kind of
Yeah, I know. Well, Azealia Banks did too, but Azealia Banks did it with more style. A
Shakira
white
just did
woman
it.
with knives is much more dangerous than anybody else with knives. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She can get away with it.
What is that lady's name? Rachel Roy on Fine with Knives. Martha Stewart, Fine with Knives.
What are you talking about?
Woman with knives, white woman with knives.
Yeah,
I'm like,
well,
I'm okay with those two.
Yeah,
Everybody
even
else.
without knives, they're scary. So that's a real
Yeah.
scary story.
What else did they tell you that was from the devil?
Yu-Gi-Oh! I had Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Oh my god! So
Yeah.
one time I snuck out and bought Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards, and then my mom found them. Y las botó. Like she found them in my sweater because I hid them in my sweater pocket. And I don't know why she put on my sweater to go outside because it was next to the couch. I left it on the couch, which was my mistake. Okay. I left it on the couch and she went outside and it was cold and she put it on and she found them. She threw them away. She was like, "That's the devil." I was like, "Girl, what's not you're the devil. You know how much trauma you're creating right
Yes,
now?"
everything is. You're going to hell for anything.
Yeah. I mean, essentially. But the only costume I ever remember having would be like the lion one. What costumes have you done? Well, now that I'm older, I've done some other ones, but they're always either really political or like they're like a pun. Or like last year I didn't have time, so I had this like huge box and I just wore it and I was a box.
Were you like a dick in a box?
Everybody
or-
was so mad. Every time people would ask me and I would tell them, you could see how like annoyed they were by me. It wasn't funny to anyone. It was funny to like one person, but other than that, everybody was like, "What are you?" I'd be like a box. They'd be like, "Oh," and then they turn around. I was like, "Wow, it's not hitting like I
yeah,
thought
they
it
were
was
probably
gonna
like
hit."
C for effort. Or...
They were not about it.
Yeah. I like those customs though. Like if it's like, I think we did talk about this, like customs that are like puns.
Uh-huh.
Like I put a bino around my neck and it was broken and I put like a chain with it. So I was like a broken record and
Oh, that's cute.
that was, yeah.
So I've been I wore, the suits that are all white.
Yes.
The all white, like it like covers your face and it's like all one color.
Did it come with a hat? Because I don't like where this is going.
No.
Just
No,
white
it was like
suit.
you haven't seen them. They're like bodysuits. It's like a bodysuit from top to bottom. You put it all on it covers your face and it's one color, like white, red, green, black, white, yellow.
I think
all
I've
the
seen some
colors.
guys dancing, but like they do this weird dance.
Yeah. Well, I was a white one and they were like, "Where are you?" I was like, "I'm privileged." Which I'm
Oh.
thinking of bringing that back because that was cute.
Yeah.
Most of the time it's like last minute
Yeah.
for me.
It's always
Because it was never a big deal. I know some people that's like a ritual for them. Like they They start from like 3 months ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
I start planning before and I just never do it. Like I thought about doing Bad Bunny like at the Med, like with the open back and just make the show out of white flowers.
Mm-hmm.
But then Halloween gets closer and then I'm not gonna do anything.
Yeah, no. Damn. I know Mark. I'm sorry. Let's have a moment of silence for Mark because he wasn't able to be here and he really wanted to do the Halloween episode and he loves horror, but he couldn't. So let's just be quiet for a second. Sorry, Mark.
Sorry.
I hope you feel better.
Don't hate me.
Let's move on.
Yes.
Were there any other traditions you did for the Day of the Dead? I'm really interested in this because I kind of feel cheated that I wasn't able to participate in not Halloween because like Halloween's like whatever, it's pretty simple, but Day of the Dead is like more like it's like actually, you know what I mean? It's like part of the culture.
Yeah.
Like, it's more cultural. But what else did y'all do?
It's very, for me, it's I don't use this word often, but it's like almost like spiritual. Like it's a time to celebrate like those that are no longer here, and it just kind of resets, you know, the way you think about death, and it's always a good reminder.
It's a celebration, right? Like a celebration of death and like what it means, and like I've been to Day of the Dead in Mexico City. I don't know why I had to think so long for that. You okay? You love those braids, don't you? He's really feeling those braids. He's like twirling them. He's
my
like
hair grow.
Looking at when I went for the Day of the Dead parade, there was like champurrado and like all the traditional foods that you get. Pan de muerto.
Yes.
The parade was incredible. If y'all have never been to Mexico City for the Day of the Dead parade, go to Mexico City for that. It's amazing. It's incredible. Like they have the calaveras, they have all that stuff, but they also have during the parade they have like traditional stuff. Like they have
do they burn stuff?
Yeah, they have people walking around with like offerings and like things that are with like smoke coming out. It's really cool.
Yeah. Question: what would you want in your altar? Like, let's say for the future.
If I died,
like if this,
I died,
this lives on for like 70 years.
Prep.
Okay, so we're putting prep on your altar.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I might need it.
Yeah.
You know, water-based lube. I don't like the oil. I don't like the oil stuff. I don't like the oil. I don't like the silicone.
Spit water base. Yeah, right.
If you want to spit to get a little kinky, I'll take that, but not too much. I don't want like a bowl of it. A puppy bowl. If you know me, you know what that means. No, just kidding.
Oh, okay. Got
it. Any dessert that's strawberry flavored, flan, horchata, pan de muerto, just because I want to be part of the crowd. Mole. Creme de violette's my favorite liquor, so I would want creme de violette. And maybe whiskey too. Like if there was a way to put dick on an altar, but like I don't do plastic, so dildos don't work for me.
Yeah, no, it's...
Yeah. I think that's it. I think that's
a lot of things.
Yeah. What are you only supposed to ask
no,
for
I
one
mean,
thing?
I mean, it's usually it's like stuff you would want to share, but you know that's good. It's gonna be some. You know how you hear about like sex with ghosts kind of thing. So it's good. There's not gonna be any like exorcisms necessary because you're you're on prep. It's fine. I'm not gonna get possessed. I'm on prep.
Yeah.
But fun fact, pan de muerto, it's not actually made from dead people. It's just anise.
What?
Yeah.
I know.
It's like stupid shit. When I was little, I was like, do they bake the dead or something? Yeah, like I thought it was like you use a little bit of hair that they had or something.
No, they don't.
Just when I was little.
I think I knew that when I was little that they don't.
I mean, I didn't know what it was until I found out it's anise.
It makes sense that you would think that though.
Yeah. Later on, I figured, I was like, it's probably not made of it, but for my altar, I think I just want coffee. Coffee and like some type of bread. And mezcal.
I'm really sexual, so I feel like half of the stuff has to be about sex, right? Plus, I'm gay. It's like, yeah.
Especially if you're coming from, I don't know, do you think you're going to hell or heaven?
Probably, I probably heaven,
Same.
honestly, yeah. Because I'm a lot of fun.
Yeah, no,
and I feel like they need that up there.
Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah.
Or who knows?
I don't think that. I think that God would be like, you're too fun for me to send you to hell. Like, because we need some fun up here too.
Depends which
And it's
God
like, as long as I repent, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, just make sure you either repent or don't tell anyone like all the other Christians. Yeah.
We love forgiveness.
So how do you feel about death?
I welcome it. I think since we don't know what's, after life, I welcome it. I think it's when I've had people, close to me pass, and I think death you sort of think of people not as in they're no longer here, but how are they still with me? Like they lived through, like, for example, like my grandmother, she used to always tell me like, ¿Qué contines? Or like, what's the purpose of, whenever I did something stupid, she would ask me like, what was the purpose of that? So, whenever I do something stupid, I almost like hear it in the back.
Do you think you would go to heaven?
I want to go to hell. I think heaven is going to be like, just because the idea of having like what they tell you.
You're trying to join the party and I'm trying to start one.
Yeah.
That's the difference between this right here. Yeah. Because I feel like y'all need me is the way I see it. But you're like, oh, I don't want to deal with that. Yeah, like that's too much work. I just want to get there and there's already a party.
Yeah, I don't want to build a table. I want to make a reservation. Yeah, that's how I think of it.
I mean, I feel like I'm pretty radical. So I'm definitely down to bring some sex and fun to heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see what those wings do, right?
Mm-hmm. Some of those angels, the one with 1,000 eyes.
Everybody's naked also in heaven, right? Like I don't know, it's kind of creepy because it's usually like babies that are naked with the
and then there's like
cherubs.
An angel that has like 3 different heads. I wonder what its dick looks like.
It's probably just 3 testicles. But yeah, death.
Yeah, no, I feel like I'm not as scared of death as I used to be because I grew up really religious and it's like, oh my God. And then once I started my deconstruction, which is essentially, if you don't know what deconstruction is, it's just like, but when you start like actually researching religion and like its history and other religions and their histories and all the things that are going on in the world, and you actually get outside of like, your bubble, you start to realize like none of this makes sense. A lot of it is just brainwashing and control. And so when I went through that process, I lost my fear of death. I'm no longer scared of dying.
Yeah.
I'm actually excited because I don't know what's out there, but whatever it is, like we're all going. So it's like, might as well. But yeah, no, I don't believe. I was scared of it though for a long time.
Well, that's how they get you to believe, right? Like, especially religion, like you don't do this or else you're going to burn in hell for eternity.
I mean, yeah, they took a whole, like, for example, Day of the Dead, like one of the things about Day of the Dead is La Santa Muerte, right? Not everybody, I don't think everybody makes an altar for La Santa Muerte on the Day of the Dead, but some people do, right?
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, you're right.
Because I've seen it, but I'm not sure if it's like an entire. Because
it's almost like and I think La Santa Muerte, I think it's been like just what they did to, I think the correct pronunciation, Tonanzi, which is like, that's what they kind of mimicked for the La Virgen de Guadalupe, and then the goddess of death, or they made the Santa Muerte. It's like Catholic.
So for a lot of y'all listening, I don't know if y'all knew this because I didn't know this until a few years ago, but like Day of the Dead is actually kind of like a mixture of both Aztec and Spanish.
Yeah, like
right.
Yes, so that's
like traditions, because like when if you don't know this, like we had our ancestors, our indigenous ancestors at least, had like whole civilizations. Like it wasn't like they were like like sleeping on like dirt. You know what I mean? Like they had like schools, they had like hospitals, they had their like, you know what I mean? It didn't look like,
it wasn't like Apocalypto like Mel Gibson.
Yeah, it was. And so like when they came, Spanish, when the white folk came, they colonized, they destroyed everything, and they made they like literally threatened to kill people if they didn't abandon their beliefs to become Christian or to become as white as possible. And so that's where like a lot of our history got like was lost. Yeah, like we still don't know a lot of things about our old traditions and stuff because they destroyed them. Like they made people forget about them. They made them like, right? And so fear is like that's like that's how they did it. It's like, I'll kill you if you don't pray to God.
Yes.
And it was like, okay, I have to pray to God now.
Wink.
Yeah.
And then, that's how some traditions stayed alive because, they were like, okay,
Yeah. But like, yeah, religion is like fear
yes.
or whatever.
And luckily we do still have some traditions and they couldn't get rid of them and, erase that. So they had to sort of blend it into what they were trying to convert us.
Yeah. Y luego, pero la Santa Muerte is one of those things that has survived from, right?
Yes, it's
or
sort of,
more about
it just morphed, right? Like now it's not, I don't think like if you go to a church, they're going to have like a little card or like a little prayer for it. But that's more just, people who are religious that still hold that sort of, but it also became more popular with like narco culture as of recent. But previous to that, it was like, you pray to death, like to like, just wait a little longer. Don't come yet.
Yeah, please wait a little longer. I have a whole podcast to do. And there's so much dick to suck. It's like, please wait. I think I'm just scared of how I'll die. That's what I'm scared of. That's the scarier thing, is how I'm going to die.
I just want to know.
I thought old age was the goal.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh, old age is the goal. My grandma was like 96 and she was like, her kidneys stopped functioning. And then like she couldn't move, like she couldn't get up because she had broken her leg a few years ago and it never healed properly. And I was like, girl, you're having a hard time, aren't you? And she was like, I am. And I was like, I'm sorry. Yes. And I was like, I don't think dying of old age, because then your body starts shutting down. And then she was like, and I was like, I don't think I could do that. So, I mean, the submarine is a little enticing. The like, submarine, the billionaires.
Collapse or what
that's a little enticing because like you don't feel anything.
Yeah.
So it's like I might go on one of those trips later on in life when I'm ready. If that company still exists, if they're still doing that, I might just to see what happens. Because
if not, it'll probably be Mars.
I don't know about dying from old age anymore.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Like just the amount of pain some people have to endure for years.
Yeah.
So I for me, the biggest fear is not knowing. Like I think it's a luxury if you go to sleep and you don't wake up. But let's say you feel like, let's say you get hurt or you fall and then you're like, oh, that's fine. I'm going to be okay. Like, I'm just going to go to the doctor and like, I cut myself. And then it turns out it's like something. And then you think you're going to like, oh, I'm probably fainting. I don't know if you ever fainted. I fainted at a hospital once.
No.
And everything got blurry and I just woke up and I just saw my grandmother's hand.
So where are you going? You're saying that your grandmother? You saw your grandma?
No. I'm so bad with stories because I just like...
I was like, where are you going with this, Omar?
So she was in the hospital and I went to see her and something about hospitals just kind of, I don't know, it just does something with my head and like I was talking to her and I just remember holding onto the bed and then I just remember seeing the bar of the bed, so I just hit myself on the head. Then I was on the floor and I just woke up and I just saw her hand going like Omar.
But she wasn't dead.
No, she wasn't. Okay. No, she was still.
No, I was like, hold on, what?
But like, just imagine something happens and then you think you're gonna be fine,
and then you die the next day or something.
And then you're like, it's really warm in here. Yeah. So I just want to know, like, I just want to know it's coming.
Yeah. See, for me. Yeah, I don't know. It would be nice. I don't know. Like maybe a combination of all. I don't know. I mean, just like nothing embarrassing either. Yeah. Like, what's like the most embarrassing way to die? On the toilet? No.
I think it's like when some people, I've heard about this with the asphyxiation. Like just imagine like somebody goes and they just like find like Pornhub and like a tie across your neck and you're just like... Like, to me, that would be really
well, that would require that I'd be into that. I'm not. So that's not going to be a problem. But more like, I don't know. Like, what if you're like, what's an embarrassing way to die? I mean, on the toilet is not that embarrassing because it's like, if anything, it would make people pity you. It's like, oh, he died on the toilet. So it's not like that embarrassing. But I feel like more like...
Well, I'm like that. Do they wipe you or do they just, have someone pick you up? That's what I was concerned about.
That's a good question. I don't know.
I'm just...
do they wipe you? Yeah. Do they wipe you?
Yeah, like,
your ass?
Just,
I mean, I'm sure they have to wipe your ass.
I mean, it's not like it's going to be uncomfortable.
I mean, they pick you up and then they take you out, but someone has to wipe your ass at one point because they have to prepare the body. So if you...
That's also like, I don't want that. I don't want my body to be like opened up. I just This is how I came. And
you don't want to donate?
I don't want to donate organs. These are mine.
Don't?
No, it's like it's almost funny because a lot of people are like, it could save somebody's life, or like, you know, they're like, thank God for this. And I'm like, no, if God ended me, it's because, you know, doesn't mean like I'm not gonna fuck up with, you know, other people's chances. Like I also just, I don't know. It's a lot of people. A lot of people are like, so why wouldn't you? Like, you're saving, and it's almost like. So I don't even get to keep my organs. Like, I don't
know. I mean, I'm down to give some organs away, but I feel like they should go to my family first. So maybe it would be nice for someone to like save my organs. Is that possible? Yeah. Like, could someone like save my organs in case my family needs it? And then if my family like ends up not needing them in the future, like maybe like 100 years from now, then you can give them to people. I don't know,
but that's actually
like
really
thing? Good. I'm sure rich people have already.
We're looking for investors.
So
yeah,
somebody has to have already started doing that.
Yeah, I also just organs and stuff. It's like, no, they're mine.
Mm-hmm. What about scary stuff that has happened to you?
You know what? I feel like it's always been in my head, but because
I really thought we were going into that with your grandma.
Yes,
but she was alive.
Yeah, no, she was alive. Yeah, but we'll get to other stories.
Her death.
Yeah,
you're like, she'll die. She'll die a little. We'll get to that.
Yeah. No, but yeah, as far as like apariciones or things like that, I mean, I think it's been like mostly fear. I don't think I've had anything that I'm like, I can't explain it other than I don't know what it was. I think it's...
I mean, I know the scary shit that my grandma used to tell me actually about La Llorona.
Mis hijos.
Yeah, that one. But my sister saw her. That's what she said, okay? I don't know if she's telling the truth because she's a liar now, so maybe she was a liar when she was younger.
What did she look like?
But she told me that, like, I'm
like, what does she look like? Did she still have a stroller or like...
Oh, oh no.
Because there's so many versions.
Oh, no. That's okay.
Here we go.
Okay. Thank you.
So she saw La Llorona.
Just hang it on, like, one of the horns.
Yeah, oh, that's better. Yeah.
Is that... Yeah. That's... So she said that when she was little, because we were living in Mexico, right, at the time, because she was older when we moved to the United States.
Was this when they left her for the year, or was this in one of the summers?
No, it was. Oh my God, it's so funny. It was like growing up, because I was 3 years old when we came to the United States, but she was older. I forgot how much older.
How much older? Like,
I forgot how much older.
Like, honestly. Do you remember her quinceañera?
She didn't have a quinceañera. Oh. Yeah, my dad was really greedy. They promised her like a trip to like on a cruise trip or something, and they're like,
they just dropped her off in Mexico for a year.
No, they were like, pick the trip or the quinceañera, and she picked the trip, and they never sent her. And I was like, girl, that was your fault, because I would have been like, give me the quinceañera, because I don't trust you hoes. Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, no, she said that she would go. So she was little. She was probably like, she said she was like 8 or 9, and she was sleeping in her room. And there was like this hallway in my house that one end of the hallway, you could see the front door. And so it was like the hallway, and then my parents' room was on the left side, and on the right across the door from them, in front of their door, was the restroom. So but her room was like, it was like a T. Right? So her room was on the top part of the T. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
The hallway is the bottom part of the T. And then... Anyway, she would get out of her room, and she would try to go to my parents' room, but you could see the front door from the hallway. And we had like a really big front door with like foggy glass. It was like a wide front door. It wasn't just like a regular door. And she could see La Llorona like on it, crying, like her outline, the shadow from the street lights, and she would be crying. And she said that she would be calling her name, and she was like, it happened multiple times. And I was like, I kind of believe that. I really do. I believe everything in the world is energy, but I do believe that creepy shit like that can happen. I don't think it's like a monster, but I do.
We don't really know what's beyond life, right? So we don't know how like somebody's life after they leave, how it affects like the space. And does she have a theory on why this?
No, but she said it happened multiple times, and my mom would always tell her to go back to bed, and she was like, it was scary. And then my grandma had this tale she used to say about how, or was it my grandpa? He said that he was with his friend one time, and they saw a really hot woman.
Hot.
They were drunk, and they were like walking in the forest, and they saw this like, because they lived in a rancho, right? Like, and by rancho I mean like it was like 3 or 4 houses in the middle of nowhere, right? Or like 6 houses in the middle of nowhere, and they still live there today. But him and his friend were coming from like drinking, and they were walking home, and it was like in the middle of the forest. They saw this really hot woman, and he said that they like followed her, and she was she was white. She had like on these white robes, and to make sure he got home safe, because that's these are straight men.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. And so they were like walking through, and they were following her, and she got to the river, and he said that when she got to the river, she had this like thing draped over her head, like a he said that they followed her, and she got her getting naked by the river, and they were like, oh.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know what 2 straight men were doing next to each other watching this girl. I was like, but I'm not going to ask any questions because I know I'm gay for a reason.
Yes.
And so he's not going to tell me anyway. And so he was like, yeah, so we were starting to get turned on, and then she turned around. It was the head of a horse. And so he said like that they just started running. I was little, and I was like, that's scary. But now that I'm older, I'm less scared, and I'm more wondering, y'all were getting turned on, and then what was gonna happen?
Sarah Jessica Parker.
What did you think was gonna happen? Like, and why did you think it was normal for this woman to be walking in the middle of the night at night? Like, that's your first sign. Wearing white, that's like your first sign you should not be following her. You know what I mean? But I don't know.
Do you know what they say about Sarah Jessica Parker?
What?
That she has a horse face. The whole time once you said horse face, I'm just like, I just picture like
turned
Carrie
around
Bradshaw,
and it was
just like
she turned around. It was Sarah Jessica Parker.
But you know what? I similar to this, I've heard stories about like women luring men, and then I can't remember. Like I've heard like fair. The terms are different, but one similar is that las lechuzas. So it's like a type of owl, so that they're actually witches who transform.
Isn't that common in other cultures too, though?
I'm
Owls being witches?
Yes.
I feel like I've heard that from other cultures too.
So
I could be wrong, but I feel like I have.
Yeah, I know that there was like in my hometown that like guy was like saw like a bunch of owls like gathering, and you know that he had like a feeling. Like he just, I guess it was like almost like stories that get passed down.
Yeah.
So then
like
he
leyendas.
took out his rifle and like shot one of them, and then he kind of saw where it fell. And then the next day that there was like, there was the body of a woman, and that it was like some lady that they said like, she's like a witch.
I feel like I've heard that legend. You know, one of the ones that would scare me the most when I was little from Mexico was the duendes.
Oh,
that terrified me because my cousins had all
What's
seen
up with
them.
those?
Supposedly.
I always heard about them, but
okay, so duendes are like it's almost like dwarfs.
Yeah,
like little people, but it's like they're kids, but they're like little. I mean, they're little kids, right? But sometimes they say that they have like the face of like old men. Sometimes they have like a messed up face. Sometimes they just look like innocent kids or something, but they like lure you. They'll get little kids and they'll like convince them to play with them at night, and then they lure you away, and you get lost, and they never find you again. And it was like that legend. And it's funny because here in the United States, it's like, oh, those are all legends, but in Mexico, people believe it. Like a lot of my cousins were like, no, I've seen them, and I was like, are y'all all lying?
Yeah, well, here people believe
actually seen them.
Here people believe in democracy or like.
Yeah,
equality or like
it's like
freedom of speech.
But yeah, no, like I felt like I was like, are y'all lying or are you telling the truth? Because even like the guy who used to there was this guy who would take care of our house year round. And he would be like, no, I hear them playing outside sometimes. But he would just say casually, like, I hear them playing outside sometimes. You just have to ignore them. And I was like, bitch, how are you this nonchalant about duendes? But maybe they were fucking with me. Now that
you know what?
That's
always like when I hear some of these stories, like you just never know if people are like, I'm very like skeptical. So I'm always like,
I was terrified. I was so terrified as a kid. Like I went through a phase where my mom had to tell everyone to stop telling me stories because I was starting to freak out so much I couldn't sleep. Little kids or like little people with old man faces is like so terrifying.
Oh, isn't that like an actual condition? Like what is that? That there's like this person
Oh
There's
my
a guy
God.
called Abdullah, or my sister's obsessed with him, and you just described the duende, and I'm just like, I almost want to tell my sister, like, stop watching
an
him.
actual condition.
Yeah,
You
like,
dumb
don't go
bitch.
play with him. No,
You would bring that up
Yeah,
too.
no, but-
I hate you.
But no, it just started sounding like that. But my mom did share a story about something that I would be more open about. Like, maybe there's something out there. That there used to be this guy, and he had his animals, and he had like the carriage, the bolada. I just called my mom. She just told me about it. I forgot already.
The bolada?
Bolada, yes. So it was like bolanda. So it's like this almost carriage thing that gets pulled by like donkeys or horses. And so he used to have a lot of animals, and he used to take care of them. And then when he passed, like, so he used to go around town like with the horses and the bolanda.
Mm-hmm.
And that when he passed, like once she was at her house with my grandmother, and then they kept hearing like the sort of like the wheels of it, and
spinning.
They kept hearing it, and so my mom was like, "Let me check it out." And my grandma was like, "I'm just kidding." So my grandma was like, "No, don't." But then they were like both curious because they kept hearing it, and that when they looked outside, they were hearing it, but they looked, that they didn't see it anywhere. So I think that I'm more lenient to believing, just because I think like I feel like you say, energy like causing
Yeah, I feel because there's people who swear that they have seen stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Even everywhere in the world, people are like, "No, I've seen a ghost, or I've seen this, or I've seen that," and I am inclined to believe it just because I do. Like, I go get my cards read. I read tarot cards.
Yeah.
By this person, and they're like really talented. Their name is Ryan. I have a friend who had a condition, and they were like, they didn't know that they had this, and it was like pre-cancer. Ryan was like, "Hey, you need to go to the doctor because this part of your body needs attention and they're missing it. And you need to go back and tell him to test again and tell him to look for this." And they went and they did have it. And if they hadn't caught it, it would have probably turned to cancer. I remember when I first met Ryan, they had no idea who I was. They had never met me, but they told me stuff about me that, yeah. And I was like, there's like, I believe in energy, and I believe, and it's really quantum physics, all that shit. It's all energy, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, I believe it sometimes, right? Because I feel like some people don't have a reason to lie. Like, why the fuck would you lie to me?
Or how they know so much about me. Like, I've had
but sometimes they do want to just lie.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
like...
it's like any job, right? There's honest people, and then there's people just, what do they call it? Like, fake it till you make it.
Yeah, like Miss Cleo.
Yeah. I had a friend who read them to me, and like he said a lot of stuff that you're like, sometimes you forget what they say, but then like I look back at some of the things that he said, and I was like, oh, maybe there was something to it. And I also got my palm read once.
Did the palm reading turn out? How did that turn out?
Yeah, no, they said that I had a female presence looking after me.
Aww.
And it kind of made sense, just because, like I said, like,
who was it?
I think it was my grandmother.
Aww.
Just because I knew her for a short while, but I think she caused like a big impact in my life. So I, like I said, like what I was telling you earlier, like sometimes I hear her in my head, and it's almost like, you remember what they said.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you've ever felt anybody's presence that was dead?
Yeah. Well, it happens with like, sometimes I get the smell of like iron, like solder. Yeah, like when the smell, the fumes. And then so usually that always reminds me of my dad.
But
and
do you get it? Like, you get it randomly? You'll just be doing stuff and you smell it?
Yeah, like I could just be like crossing the street. It happened once, and I was like, I just got the whiff of it, and then I saw a car passing by, and I was like, it was very similar to one that my dad had. And it just like, it brings a lot of
so
memories.
Sometimes you smell,
and some people say like,
who soldered?
My dad. So he knew how to weld metal. That's happened a few times.
Do you think that's your dad, like saying, "Hey, I'm here"?
I think a lot of people would say like that's his way of like, showing up for you. But
interesting, yeah, cool. That's kind of scary, but that's
Yeah, but I don't.
still
Yeah.
really beautiful though. It's kind of beautiful
Yeah.
actually.
And it's also, like, I don't know
Aw.
if it's my mind, just like,
Maybe.
I don't
I
know,
don't
but
know.
I just take it for what what it feels like in the moment.
Thank you for sharing that last
Oh,
piece.
yeah.
I didn't know that. Thank you for listening, guys. That's our show. That's our Halloween episode, or the Dia de los Muertos episode. Stay tuned for the next one. It's gonna
Yes.
be with Mark, and we'll have more coming soon.
Yes.
Thanks for listening.
Trick or treat.
Bye.